I think the media is getting punked again. Have you heard this audio from CNN? Audio that's supposed to be from Ferguson? If not, wait till you do. It is too funny. I'll play that for you here in a bit. And there was another shooting, this time in Ohio. We'll talk about that. Burger King has decided to have it their way. They are seeking greener pastures. We'll talk about that. And once again, Obama, detached, disengaged, almost bored with the job. Hello, folks. Once again, I am here, and obviously so are you, for another episode of this, The Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. The email, if you want to send me your comments, or if you just feel the need to rant or vent to somebody, feel free. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. So, have you heard the audio that CNN was so proud of? That is, until like the next day. This has got to be near the top of the list of the most bizarre things I've ever heard. What it is you've got some guy talking on a video chat of some kind. I don't know if it's Skype or FaceTime or whatever, but while he's chatting, and wait till you hear the chat. If you haven't heard it, the guy is on like some kind of booty call. But during his chat, you hear what sounds like gunfire in the background. And this is supposed to be the shots that were fired by Officer Darren Wilson when he shot Michael Brown. Here's the audio. It's Don Lemon from CNN with Lopa Blumenthal, who is the lawyer of the guy in the audio. I'll just play his whole report and interview with her.
You are pretty. You're so fine. Just going over some of your videos. How could I forget?
So joining me now is Lopa Blumenthal. She is the attorney. We're hearing on this tape your client, Lopa, having a video chat with a friend, just doing normal, whatever you do, and you can hear the gunshots in the background. Explain to us what happened.
That's right. He was in his apartment. He was talking to a friend on a video chat. He heard loud noises, and at the time, he didn't even realize the import of what he was hearing until afterwards. And it just happened to have captured 12 seconds of what transpired outside of his building.
Okay, let's listen one more time to what happened.
You are pretty. You're so fine. Just going over some of your videos. How could I forget?
Is that not just too funny? So this dude is all, you're pretty. And there's no video that's been released with this audio. At least I haven't seen any. And I'll tell you what, that would really help to clear up a lot of questions I have about this. I mean, I assume he's talking to a girl, but who knows? So, oh, and another thing. Did you notice how this guy doesn't even break stride in his conversation? I mean, he just, you're pretty. Pop, 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 pop. You're so fine. Pop, pop, pop. I've been going over, pop, pop, some of your videos. Pop, pop, pop. He doesn't even slow down. Now, I've chatted on Skype before and FaceTime, and let's just say that if there was suddenly gunfire right outside my window, I would react to it. I don't know how exactly, but I know I would somehow react. I would probably go to the window and look out there to see what was going on. If I felt it necessary, I might even hit the deck. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure I would at least pause in my conversation. I'm almost sure of that. I mean, you'd be able to just tell by the audio that I was at least aware that there was gunfire going on right outside my window. This guy, I mean, he doesn't miss a beat. You're pretty. Pop, pop, pop. You're so fine. Pop, pop, pop. He doesn't even flinch. Here it is again.
You are pretty. You're so fine. Just going over some of your videos. How could I forget?
Now, like I said, I've chatted on these things. It has never even occurred to me to record it. This guy not only happened to be in the right place at the right time, this guy happened to be chatting, and he happened to be recording his chat. That's amazing stuff, is it not? If you record your chats, please email me and tell me why. I'm just curious. And if you do, please include why you would record a booty call if that's what you were doing. Now, when I first heard this audio, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. The audio itself doesn't really make a lot of sense in my mind. Like I said, I would think any reasonable human being would somehow react in some way to gunfire right outside their window. And his lack of response, it's just strange. And another problem I have with this audio, it doesn't match up with what witnesses say occurred. Something like 12 witnesses say the cop fired 6 shots. The autopsy concluded Michael Brown was hit 6 times, all in the front of his body. In this audio, you hear something like 10 or 11 shots. So that's another problem I have with it. It just doesn't line up with other accounts by witnesses about what happened. Witnesses also say there was a shot fired in the police vehicle. I mean, this should be easy to confirm. If a shot was fired in the vehicle, there has to be some evidence of that. There has to be like a bullet hole somewhere or something. But you don't hear any initial shot in a car in that audio, unless there's more to the recording and like maybe it happened earlier. And investigators are usually pretty thorough. How many shots were fired? That they should know. I mean, if nothing more, just by the brass laying around on the ground, right? If there were 10 shots, there should be 10 empty bullet casings on the ground. Pretty simple, right? Unless he was using a revolver that holds 10 rounds. The audio sure doesn't sound like a revolver. I've seen crime scenes where they tag everything and they put like little markers in the street, where they find stuff. They have to know what kind of gun the officer was using. And somebody out there has to know exactly how many shots were fired. And I imagine we'll find all that out eventually. But there's more. Another problem I have with it is the way it came out and the fact that we don't know who it is speaking in the audio. What I've heard is that this guy was listening to the booty call of himself that he recorded. And when he realized what he had, he went out and got himself a lawyer. She was that Lopa Blumenthal. And somehow through this lawyer, the audio ended up over at CNN. I guess the story is that the guy is embarrassed by the whole booty call thing, by the whole "you're pretty." He just doesn't want to be identified. But ask yourself this question. Okay, let's say you're one of these non-thinking libtard buffoons that, you just couldn't see the truth if it hit you in the face. And I know it's hard. I mean, if you're a member of my audience, you'll have to do your best to park your brain for just a minute, okay? Just for this exercise. Pretend you're a liberal. Facts don't mean anything to you. Evidence doesn't mean anything to you. In fact, you got mad when they released the video of Michael Brown robbing that convenience store because, you already formed an opinion and the video doesn't substantiate what you want to be true about this case. So your reaction is you just get mad. Now, if you wanted to fabricate evidence, how would you do it? I mean, they could try to create phony video of the shooting. And I'm sure there's some libtard somewhere working on that. You could try that, but it'd probably be figured out. I'll tell you what you might try. You might try faking audio. And if you did fake some audio, you would want it to be released anonymously. I mean, the last thing you would want is reporters poking around, right? Asking you questions, trying to drill down for the truth. So you would just want to turn it over and leave it at that and disappear. And of course, if you put your phony audio in the context of a booty call, well, it'll get exposure because everyone wants to play it over and over just because of how bizarre it is. Now, I am not saying that that's what happened. For all I know, the audio could be 100% genuine and Officer Wilson could be 100% guilty. Okay, I wasn't there, so I will wait for the facts to come out. And liberals, please take your brain for a test drive. Let's let the facts come out. Still a great piece of audio, though, isn't it? This is too funny.
You are pretty. You're so fine. Just going over some of your videos. How could I forget?
That is just good stuff. CNN, by the way, was so proud of this audio when they first got it. It was all they talked about. They had audiologists on saying how real it was. They had, professional audio people trying to authenticate and discuss this audio. But by Wednesday, they were raising serious doubts about its authenticity. And they had people on saying it was a hoax. Someone even said CNN was punked. Why is that so easy to do to the mainstream media, by the way? Remember the pilots? Remember Sum Ting Wong and We Too Low? Remember that? Here it is.
We have new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Lee Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what roles each of them played during the landing on Saturday.
How in the world does something like that get on the air? How does something that dumb get on the air? Aren't there like college educated editors and other people, in between information and the camera? And when whoever that reporter was, as she was reading it, you can't tell that that's not right while you're reading it. And she said they confirmed that. Did you hear that? She said they confirmed. What does it mean to news people to have something confirmed? To me, if something is confirmed, that means the fact. The thing is fact without question, beyond a shadow of any doubt. So what is their confirmation process? How did they have those names confirmed? I want to know that. And you wonder why there is just no trust in the mainstream media anymore. But getting back to this alleged audio, and how do we even know that that was in Ferguson? That could have been recorded anywhere. That could have seriously been recorded anywhere and emailed anywhere. It's just ridiculous. There has been a brand new shooting, though, of a black man by white cops, and this one doesn't look so good for the cops. Again, I don't know the whole story. I don't have all the facts yet. But apparently John Crawford, a black man, was shopping at Walmart, and while shopping, he was carrying a pellet gun that he picked up in Walmart, something that Walmart sells. And someone saw a black man with a gun and called police. Now, police responded, and they approached the guy, and they said that he was waving the gun around and that he refused their orders to put down the weapon. That's their story, and they shot him. Now, this is in a Walmart. This was like in the toy aisle in Walmart. The Beaver Creek Walmart in Ohio. Walmart has hundreds of cameras around the store. You know that there's evidence of this. And they say this guy was pointing his BB gun at people and at children. And, we're just going to have to wait and see the video. The police are hesitant to release the video. The family has seen it. The lawyers have seen it. We're just going to have to wait for it to come out. They say that the video shows Crawford just shopping, holding this toy gun, talking on his cell phone, and he's just kind of facing a shelf and leaning on the gun. He's got the barrel of the gun on the floor. This is what I heard. And they say the video shows him one frame he's on the phone and the next frame he's on the floor. Without warning, without anything. So this guy, John Crawford, he was 22 years old. He had 2 kids and one on the way. He apparently picked up the BB gun just because he was going to buy it. And like I said, we're just going to have to wait and see. Oh, and by the way, Ohio is an open carry state. So let's just say, for sake of argument, that it was a real rifle. Let's say this man was walking through Walmart with a real loaded rifle. That's still not breaking any law. Not to mention, this is America, right? We're all citizens. We all have the right to keep and bear arms. So what exactly happened here? If you'll notice, there isn't any rioting and looting going on in Beaver Creek, Ohio. That's one thing. The reason why, of course, is because Al Sharpton didn't run over there and get this community all riled up like he did in Ferguson. The family and their attorney, they've come out and made a statement. They're emphatic. This is not about race. This is a safety issue. That's what the attorney said. It's a public safety issue. I mean, they believe if a gun looks real, it should be stored with the real guns. You know, I mean, this could have been anybody. If it's just somebody walking in a store with a rifle, it could be anybody, you know, whether it's real or not. And, you know, somebody makes a phone call and here come the police, guns blazing. Maybe so. I don't know. I'm waiting for the evidence and the facts to come out before I form an opinion, just like in Ferguson. So stay there, folks. Back in a minute.
Turn left. Turn right. You have reached your destination at the Ray Warner Show.
Israel, a nation born of liberty, freedom, and hope. America's unwavering friend. Israel is now fighting for its survival against an enemy who thinks nothing of sacrificing Palestinian women and children as human shields.
Hamas is using its own children as human shields.
A nearby mosque is boasting about rockets being fired at Jerusalem, at Tel Aviv, at Haifa.
It's hard to comprehend, but it's true. As Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said, here's the difference. We're using missile defense to protect our civilians, and they're using their civilians to protect their missiles. Hamas thinks nothing of killing innocent Israelis and Americans. Hamas took billions in humanitarian aid meant for schools and hospitals and used the money for the tools of war, terror tunnels, and weapons. Stand up to this outrage. Make your voice heard. Visit stophamasnow.com and sign our petition.
21 Signs of Doomsday. God said, man said.com. Noah's Ark, fact or fiction. Geologists say yes to crucifixion. Science says eat butter. God said, man said.com. Scientists study speaking in tongues. Hours of text and audio. God said, man said.com. Doctors flummox by what they found in female brains. St. Peter's fish, hell worms, extraterrestrials amongst us. God said, man said.com.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
We are back. Thanks again for listening in to the Ray Warner Show. I'm Ray Warner. If you want, you can email me. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. Burger King is making waves in the media. They are merging with a Canadian-based company, Tim Hortons, and as a result, will be able to move their funds over to the new base of operations, which is in Ontario, Canada. And as a result, they will have a huge savings as far as taxes are concerned. And remember that Facebook guy? What was his name? He renounced his U.S. citizenship just before the public offering. Eduardo Saverin, that was his name. He was one of the co-founders of Facebook, and the public offering of Facebook made him and other Facebook people millionaires and billionaires overnight. He took his money, something like $4 billion offshore, and I don't blame him. It's the same thing. Walgreens is considering moving overseas. You know, when I was growing up, I watched a lot of hockey. And I seem to remember some commentators talking about how hockey players from Canada, as soon as they made it to the NHL, if they played for a team in America, they would immediately establish a residence in America because the tax rates in Canada were sky high. And they preferred to be taxed in America where they would save a ton of money. Now it's the other way around. Eduardo Saverin left the United States to save money. Burger King is moving to Canada to save money. The taxes here are so high, I mean, it's all but impossible to conduct business, not to mention Obamacare. And of course, Obama is now working on executive action to stop what they're calling tax inversion deals, which is the fancy term for leaving America to avoid crippling taxes. Here is what he has to say about this corporate tax inversion strategy.
A small but growing group of big corporations are fleeing the country to get out of paying taxes. They're keeping most of their business inside the United States, but they're basically renouncing their citizenship and declaring that they're based someplace else just to avoid paying their fair share.
There's his favorite little 2 words, fair share. I can't seem to get a liberal to define exactly what fair share means. All they know is if someone has more money than them, they need to pay up. And Elizabeth Warren, she has a big problem with this too. Here she is talking about how she wants to handle it.
Our tax code is tilted toward the rich and the powerful. Huge American corporations make billions of dollars in profits and not pay a single dime in taxes. Those companies taking advantage of a new move, a loophole that allows them to maintain all of their operations in America, but claim foreign citizenship so they can cut their U.S. taxes. Tax lawyers call this process a corporate inversion. These companies are renouncing their American citizenship, turning their backs on this country simply to boost their profits. We'd insist they pay their fair share. That's why I've teamed up with Senator Levin and more than a dozen of our Democratic colleagues to introduce the Stop Corporate Inversions Act.
So, just like the wall the Soviets built to keep people from escaping Soviet oppression, liberals want to build a legislative wall to prevent people from escaping liberal oppression. That's their solution. You can't leave. Hey, where do you think you're going? You're not allowed to leave. You're going nowhere. You know, there is a very simple solution to this problem. Cut the taxes. Make the United States the best place in the world to do business. Let people keep more of what they earn. Let's compete and attract business, not scare it off. We have the highest tax rate in the world. Did you know that? That means our taxes are higher than in places like Cuba, Venezuela. Our taxes are higher than China, than Russia. You know, what do you think would happen if you took a penguin and dropped him off in the middle of the Sahara Desert? I know some of you out there are probably saying, what does that have to do with the tax rate? Well, let me explain. Polar bears live where it's cold because that is the environment where they thrive. Just like penguins. They live in the cold because that's the environment where they thrive. Some insects live where it's hot because that's where they thrive. If you put an animal in an environment not suited to their biology, somewhere where it is difficult for them to thrive, it won't be long before they start looking for a way out or trying to figure out how to, migrate to a place where they can thrive. And we do have places like zoos, where we do our best to recreate an animal's natural habitat. That way the animal can live where we want it to so we can appreciate it. And as long as we can maintain the habitat, the animal will be quite comfortable. Same with business. Just like the polar bear wants to live, a business wants to stay in business. And if it has to relocate to a different environment in order to thrive, it will do so. So here is your simple solution. Make the United States a place where business can thrive. Change the financial habitat of America. And business won't have this desire to flee. Can you believe American businesses are fleeing American oppression and seeking opportunity in foreign countries? I never thought I would say that, but that is exactly what's happening. Back in a minute. Keep it here, folks.
The Ray Warner Show is now available in all 58 states.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
Are you concerned about your privacy? Identity theft? Corporate eavesdropping? Who's listening in on your confidential calls? Silent Circle's innovative suite of encrypted communication services allows you the privacy you need and the ease of use you deserve. We've built a customized system focused on security, simplicity, and service, fashioned from the ground up by our team of world-renowned experts with no logging, no data farming, and no backdoors of any kind for anyone. When a Silent Circle subscriber makes a phone call, sends a text, or exchanges a file with another Silent Circle member, that transmission is encrypted, peer-to-peer, end-to-end, direct from your own mobile device or personal computer. With the addition of OutCircle access, you can even call individuals outside the circle knowing you're still encrypted to and from the silent network. Whether you're a small business concerned with corporate espionage, a governmental organization tasked to safeguard sensitive operations, or an individual protecting your family, you can trust Silent Circle's user-friendly apps and services to provide you with an affordable alternative to the risk you've had to accept until now. Silent Circle's groundbreaking global platform is the world's standard for secure mobile communications. Send a secure text across town or whisper in someone's ear 10,000 miles away. Silent Circle has revolutionized how the world communicates securely. Get in the circle.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom. And that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
All right, back to work. This is the Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. You can email the show. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. Folks, we are living in a very dangerous world. When I first heard this, I really wasn't sure what to make of it, and you'll understand why here in a minute. This is from Fox News. A new report from the West Point Counterterrorism Center challenges the notion that the Islamic State only recently became a major terror threat, describing the network's gains in Iraq as a crisis 4 years in the making. Meanwhile, Fox News has learned that top aides to President Obama expect the threat from the organization, also known as ISIS or ISIL, to outlast Obama's time in office. Well, tell us something we don't know. These are top aides to President Obama? What is the qualification to be a top aide to President Obama? These people are just now figuring out that the Islamic threat will outlast Obama's time in office. The whole world knows this. Not to mention because Obama held a news conference where he announced to the world that he has no strategy, for dealing with the Islamic State. If you didn't hear yesterday's quick report, this is what I talked about, how this president admitted he has no strategy in dealing with the Islamists. And, it's one thing to be incompetent. It's another thing to know you're incompetent. But to announce to the world that you are indeed incompetent, that is not only stupid, it's very dangerous. It's dangerous to Americans here and around the world. What has Obama's response to the murder of James Foley been, other than to say it was appalling? The article continues. The details underscore the challenge facing the U.S. government and its allies as the president and military advisors weigh how and where to confront the Islamist militant forces. ISIL did not suddenly become effective in early June 2014. It had been steadily strengthening and actively shaping the future operating environment for 4 years, the report from the West Point Center said. Despite these warning signs, President Obama earlier this year compared ISIS and related groups to a JV team during an interview with The New Yorker. The White House has since defended those remarks, claiming the president was not referring only to the Islamic State. How is that a defense? Yeah, they're doing their best to backpedal off of this JV comment. But, you have to remember, folks, Obama has a God complex. He still thinks he can just speak, and it shall come to pass. Anyway, the article goes on. Left unclear is when that danger might diminish, with the Islamic State now controlling large swaths of territory across Syria and northern Iraq. Senior Obama administration officials have repeatedly referred to the terrorist army as a long-term threat. Oh my, you think? You think it's a long-term threat, Obama? These people have declared the establishment of an Islamic State. For the longest time, there has been an Al-Qaeda or a Hezbollah or a Hamas. And these groups normally have hidden inside other sovereign states. They're funded by some sovereign states, and they're either there because the locals want them there or because they can't get rid of them. This is the first time that I know of that a terrorist group has managed to actually go on a rampage, murder everyone in their way, other Muslims included, and actually occupy enough territory on its own and declare themselves a sovereign state. That's pretty permanent, unless somebody does something about it, which brings us to Obama, which of course gets us nowhere. We're looking for partners, and we need a coalition. We're sending relief and supplies to the people trapped on the mountain, and we want the Iraqis to do it. That's also his strategy with Israel, by the way. Remember, he's more than happy to just sit back and let Egypt take the lead in that conflict. The official also stressed that the administration does not see a 9/11 style attack on the American homeland as among the threats the Islamic State presently poses. Hello? We'll see you in New York. What does that mean? Our flag will soon fly over the White House. What does that mean? How about that picture in Chicago? Remember that? They are here and promising to attack the American homeland. Man, what is with these people? And you had to see Obama at this news briefing the other day, just slumped over the podium, letting the podium prop him up. He's barely speaking. You can barely hear him. No enthusiasm. Once again, just completely detached. Boy, you ask him about immigration, though, and you watch him just perk up. The Obama administration is currently weighing whether to expand its air campaign from northern Iraq into Syria. Well, we all know how that's going to turn out, don't we? See, Obama doesn't act until it's too late. That's what he always does. He's thinking about it and mulling over his decision and, what are we going to do? I don't know what to do. And then he acts. And, see, that way he knows his actions won't mean anything. That's number one. And number two, then he can say he acted, we did this and we did that. And, it just didn't work. So, well, if you didn't sit around on your intel for so long and, if you weren't off shooting pool and you weren't off shooting baskets and you weren't off playing golf and on vacation all the time, well, maybe you would know what was going on in the world and, be able to form a strategy. We are running out of time when it comes to this Islamic threat. We are running out of time here in this country. It's here. It's going to happen. And Obama doesn't seem at all concerned to do anything about it. But unfortunately, he's not the only one out of time. I am also out of time. And thanks again for listening, folks. I so appreciate each and every one of you out there. I now have listeners in Israel. Thank you. And please know that even though Obama isn't your strongest supporter, that we are. We, the American people. Let's all please pray for peace for God's people in Israel. This is The Ray Warner Show. I'm Ray Warner. If you want to email me, the email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. See you next week.